Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's interview. I don't think I have to tell anyone that ChatGPT 3 AI have dominated the news recently. I think if one thing is clear, talking to customers, prospects alike, people have a lot of questions. How this technology works, what it's going to mean for customer service, the practical applications, and just what it's going to mean for the future for a lot of our work in general. Here at Zowie, AI is really at the center of everything we do. So it's a subject that's near and dear to us. And we want to make sure our audience and our customers fully grasp this technology. And also importantly, how we already leverage this technology here at Zowie and our plans to expand in this area on the future. And today I have the perfect guest to join me to do just that and address those questions. So today I'm joined by Maciek Cholak, our co-founder and CPTO here at Zowie, as well as our expert on all things AI. So Maciek, why don't you say hello to our audience?
Yeah, so thank you, Chris, so much. I'm happy to welcome everyone who joined us today. We'll be diving into a lot of different stuff and answering a lot of questions. So always looking for any kind of questions in comments from your side. Hopefully we have enough time. It's a very, very important topic for everyone. As Chris, you said, it's crunches the news in the recent weeks.
Yes. And like you said, a lot to get through, not a lot of time. And quick introduction, I'm Chris Keene, head of marketing here at Zowie. And like I said, joined by Maciek. And our agenda for today, well, first of all, we've gotten a lot of questions prior to the webinar. So we're going to address those around the basics, the impact of ChatGPT 3, and then what it means for the future. We will open it up to questions, and we hope to get to all the questions our audience asks. So please feel free to drop those in the comments, and we'll either address them during the conversation or towards the end. And also, please feel free to reach out to myself or Maciek at any time on LinkedIn if you have any questions before or after. So, with that, let's get right into it, Maciek. So right away, like I said, we're gonna start with the basics, and we have a few slides to support this. So right off the bat, let's start. What is a large language model, LM? How does ChatGPT work? So let's start here.
Yeah, it's a good question. So just to be aligned and but making sure that we're on the same page, like what we're new from the news and what is happening on the market is everyone is crazy about ChatGPT, but the essence behind the scene is something which is called the GPT-3, and GPT-3 is something which is called large language models. A lot of buzzwords I'm using right now, so I'm trying to be more specific. So let's start and dive into what is the large language model. So imagine that when the new child is born, it takes some time and effort to make sure that the child understands and use a language. We can teach them any kind of language, but it takes some time. But if you know the language, if you understand what language is, how to connect the words, how to build sentences, you're able to do a lot of different things with this language. You can classify content. So as a child can start understanding what's the difference between what's my order or what's my return policy. We can do other tasks. So except classify content, we can, for example, summarize content. So you can read an article and you can go to your friend and explain in one sentence the article you read for the past hours. You can also generate examples. Someone can ask you, hey, can you tell me how to say in the different ways, question what's my return policy? And you can do many more like translation, knowledge, and answering, and any kind of specific things because you know the language and you know the specific connections between the words. And the language model is AI-based technology. So it understands a language and has capability of doing tasks we described just above and I just simply told you about. So simply speaking, we can treat it as a kind of child that has begun to learning language and is capable of doing this stuff. And what's very important is that a large language models, which is this technology we're talking about, is some kind of piece of technology was trained by enormous amount of data. We're talking here about billions of sentences pulled from the internet and any kind of different sources. And we just teach this technology how to understand this language, how to use this language. It's magic, but this is exactly what actually our society, our engineers in the world were able to achieve. But it's also very important that it cost thousands of dollars to build it and to make sure that it will be educated. So this is what we can do, and this is what large language model is. And this is what's behind the ChatGPT. And there is a company which is called OpenAI, which was spent a lot of years on building this GPT-3 large language model, and then we can dive into the essence and see how exactly we can benefit from this. So Chris, if you can pull up the next slides. Amazing. So large language models, OpenAI, the authors and the owners are GPT 3.5, so the language model built on enormous data set. We also know that in 2021, Google already announced their own language model, which is called Lambda. There are also other companies on the market who can offer this. And we already said that this is our technological child. It can do these things for us. So we can use this technology to do text summarization, face generation, classifications, and many, many more. And all of these capabilities we can use to build chatbot. And this is exactly what OpenAI did. They took their model, this language model, and they were able to build a chatbot which understands the things which are happening around the world, has this huge knowledge from the internet. And this is exactly what we're doing and what we're using, that whenever you played around with ChatGPT, you were able to ask the question and somehow it, in most of the cases, knows the correct answer. So this is exactly what they did, and this is what we're talking about. It's a very, very great one piece of technology. I really enjoy it, and if someone is here today and didn't try already, you can go to OpenAI website and double check how does it work.
Yeah, and I think that a few things to summarize this, because super helpful explanation is obviously like the large language models are really the magic like behind this, the training, that's what really powers this stuff. And ChatGPT, amazing what they've done in training it. Like you said, everyone should go play around with it. The technology feels like magic if you haven't already. But to your point, it's very generic. It's trained on a wide array of data. So very quickly, can you talk about what's different between, say, what ChatGPT is doing and then, how we're actually thinking about AI here at Zowie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, and just to align, like, what's the differences? So when you go to ChatGPT 3 and ask something specific about what's my order status, what's your return policy, it will just simply respond. You need to ask the specific shop, specific e-commerce. So it has a vast knowledge around the world and like the general knowledge, but it doesn't know specifics. And in Zowie, we're using already large language models in a different ways. So our customers can benefit from this technology by, for example, using our 100 ready-to-use automations. So we know already how to respond to top e-commerce questions. Our AI, so this large language model, is able to analyze any kind of unstructured text data and can suggest you summarize exactly like what are the missing pieces in your knowledge base to improve it. We're empowering agents to use generative AI, so to suggest them how they can respond to the specific questions of the customers and how to speed up like writing their sentences, and they can just double check on this and send. And we're also using large language models to in real time discover any kind of ongoing trends and differences in your customer behavior, and we can just tell you that something is going wrong and you need to double check on this. So a lot of different ways how we can apply it. The main difference is that ChatGPT and any kind of other technology, it's very generic. And what's unique is like that the way we're doing it is that we're specific for e-commerce. And you will find other companies like us who can do this kind of solutions, but on the other verticals on the market as well.
And I think you're hitting on a very important point, which I'm sure we'll get to in some future questions, the difference between some of this generic technology and something that is specific for a certain industry segment application, which I think as people grapple with the right ways to use AI is going to be the really important questions that people are answering for themselves. So that kind of concludes. I'll stop sharing my screen now and we'll move into just some more of the general questions. So bring it back to ChatGPT 3 now, what is the secret sauce? Like, why is everyone talking about this in a way that people haven't talked about AI in a while? Because AI has been around for years, but now it's obviously dominating again. So what is really driving that?
I mean, what I like about this, what's going on, and like what we can see is that like they show again that AI and this natural language understanding can really work. We've seen in the last years that like people were doubting at this, like saying that chatbots are stupid, it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense, we don't like it. But what they are doing right now is that thanks to, I think, a great marketing and good momentum, they were able to drive millions of billions, like millions of hundreds of millions of users doing this. We know also that, for example, Microsoft is one of the investors in GPT and OpenAI. So they also help to make this technology very common and accessible. And the effort and the results of all of these actions is that I had some kind of feeling that if you're in the room and someone is talking about GPT-3 and you're the person who didn't try it, you should immediately go and try it to just understand and feel it. It's hard to explain. You can just go there, ask any kind of questions, and you'll be shocked that it is able to answer a lot of questions. It's important that in most of the cases it can answer with the correct content, but it also makes a lot of mistakes. We've also seen a lot of LinkedIn posts and anything when ChatGPT is making mistakes and other similar technologies. But I would say that it's all about the great moment. For example, Google and their Lambda model, and we know that they recently released BART. They have it ready about a year ago. I mean, they announced it already. They were working on this, but they didn't release it because there was some kind of reservation of doing this. OpenAI did it first. They did a really great job and testing this, and when you're playing with this, you're shocked what kind of capabilities it has. So I'm so happy that it's happening right now because many people, many end users of our companies can use it, and they can just simply see that talking with a chatbot can be very natural, and you can have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, and you've mentioned this a few times now, Lambda, GPT-3, and OpenAI is the company behind GPT-3. Anyone else doing this that the audience should be aware of? And is there anything you can talk to about the difference between GPT-3, Lambda, or any of the other technologies out there?
Yeah, so I think that what's here is super important is that if you're using this GPT-3 and you're talking with the ChatGPT-3, you feel like you have access to all information in the world in the effortless way. You just ask the questions, you're getting this. And a lot of other technologies who are coming to the stage right now, as I said, BART from Google and so on, they are just doing a very, very similar pattern. They are giving you the interface you can use, you can ask questions, and you are getting an immediate response. And what are the differences between, let's say, GPT-3 from OpenAI or Lambda from Google, or there is other companies like Cohere and so on? It's mainly about how much data you use to build it, what kind of data set you build it. I mean, what kind of example of language you use to build it, how efficient your technology is, and what kind of quality it provides. But we need to remember that, and you will find the examples that you can test it and you will see that you will get the wrong data. We also need to remember that the language model, it's not in real time updated. What I'm saying, if there are some kind of things from the news in the internet from today, you won't be able to see these responses in ChatGPT-3. But of course, they will be working to make it very in real time and so on. But nowadays, as far as I know, it's trained to the data up to 21 or 22, depends on the version. So if, let's say, something changed in the world, this information, you won't find it, or maybe you will find the wrong answer.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. And so we've talked a lot about the technology. Let's move more so onto the impact, because I think that's what a lot of our is going to be most concerned with. So broadly speaking, how do you see GPT-3 and similar technologies impacting us?
Yeah, so I think that it's about, we can address this question in the different angle. So first of all, I think it increased the accessibility to the information. I mean, I was taught when I was starting my, using the computer, is about there is a Google, you can get there, you can type the question, and you will get the list of pages. And I was the person who is going through these pages and was finding the information I trust and I will use for my knowledge and my experience. And sometimes it takes you 1 minute, sometimes it takes you even 10 minutes.
Yeah.
With GPT-3 and all of this kind of generative AI approach, it takes you seconds. It just popularizes the access to the information. There is, of course, a big challenge from the legal perspective and so on. Who's the author of these messages? Can you trust it? Should there be the source which link where it was taken from? I don't want to dive into this today, but the most important fact is through this kind of interfaces, the Microsoft, what they did already with Edge and putting the Bing chat as the part of the Edge and any kind of things which are coming from the other big techs on the market will just create access to the information much, much easier. and it is just popularized the fact that conversational interfaces can become popular and used by us nowadays. It's also what I already started talking about, like trusting this information. We know, for example, TikTok. I mean, we know that it's very, very easy to just dive into TikTok and start trusting to all of the information you will find about on TikTok. There is a lot of fake news and so on. And I'm not saying that it's TikTok, but many, many different sources of information. You will find a lot of fake news. And the problem with this kind of technology is that like you need finally have some kind of way to validate if the information you're getting is correct. And the problem is that the information you're receiving from this chat interfaces right now is written in the way that it's super certain about the fact and about the fact that it's a fact. So there is no doubt when you're receiving the answer for your question, you take it as granted. And was it right? Maybe it wasn't right. So this is the biggest challenge. Of course, we can expect a lot of regulations coming, how it will change, I bet, but this is something we need to be aware. And the last point is like, how does it impact us? Innovation. I mean, we're already seeing a lot of companies will invest more and more and more into AI and conversational interfaces. We believe that there will be a lot of new AI products. There will be a lot of products which is built on top of Lambda, GPT-3, and so on, which is great because I think that like we are at the momentum of like a huge change in technology and a huge change how we are interact with the internet, how do we interact with brands, with websites, and so on.
Yeah, so I think those three things, and a few of them are a perfect segue into the next part about transferring to customers. But accessibility, information we trust, and innovation. I think accessibility and customer service, like getting people are becoming more comfortable with that conversational experience, and they actually are demanding it of brands and having those conversations with them. The big thing, trust in customer service and being able to verify that data, that is obviously going to be something that people really need to get a handle on when leveraging this type of technology. And obviously the innovation and just the AI battles that are being waged across all different, industry segments is going to be super fascinating to watch, and we're a part of that. So let's make that bridge. So how is ChatGPT 3 going to impact customer service? I think this is the big thing. So there's obviously a lot of different areas, but I'll just throw it to you right now. Like, what do you see as the biggest impacts here?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with like what's the current like situation on the market. Like in majority of the companies, like the email or the phone is still like the most important channel because people had this kind of experience that doing this through the chat or doing this with the chatbot, it's not the experience you're looking for. But what's happening right now, most of the user of the internet can access a really great conversational technology from their browsers. And like Brad or ChatGPT and all of this stuff, it's like we can use it easily and we can easily get accustomed to use it. So we can expect a change in the behavior of customers, and the chat adoption will be higher because it just empowers user to interact with the chat. So if they had this experience, they will start looking for having the same experiences on our websites, on our companies. They will tend to use the chat, and there will be the chatbot. They will give it a try. So this is the one thing. The second thing is that when we're on when I'm asking this question to the chat GPT and then the kind of this, I'm getting the instant answer. And this is what customer will expect from us as well. When I'm on your website, let's forget about FAQs. Let's forget about writing emails. I want answer right now. Instead of this, maybe I will go to competitors because you don't know the answers. Like I don't want to wait 1, 2, 3, or 6 hours to get this. So this is like where we are with this approach. We can also see that like thanks to a very powerful AI solutions, the first response time and the resolution time would go to seconds because we're able to recognize these questions and respond them much, much quicker. The second thing is about agent empowerment. I mean, we have agents who are right now using templates, macros. They need to do a lot of manual work, but they still need to decide which one they need to choose. With this kind of technology, we can start suggesting them tasks. We can start generating them responses, and they will be we can increase their productivity because they will get from this AI a generated message, a generated response to the customer in seconds. And the only thing they need to do is to review that the message is correct and send it. But on the other hand, if AI is doing everything for our agent, they may become less skilled. What I'm saying is that like if they would only rely on anything which AI generates, we can end up in the situation that our team is not skilled enough, or they will struggle, like they will be doing an easy solution of solving the easy problems quickly, but whenever there will be the hard problem, it will be really hard for them to solve this. There will be also like, I believe that there will be battles like, do we really want to have our agents to use the generative AI? Because on the one hand, it is able like to provide you the responses much quicker, and it's great. But on the other hand, like, do we really want to have agents of doing this stuff that they're just clicking, choosing if the response is better? And at the end of the day, we can find ourselves asking like, do we really need agents? And I need to ask this question nowadays, like, do we really need agents in the future if a true automation and this conversational experience is so great, so people just can interact with chatbots? So now I will come back and say like, yes, you will still need agents. Of course, the majority of the questions will be solved. And we're doing it already with Zowie. Like our customers are able to automate 70, 80% of their questions on average, which means that we only pass through 20% to customer service agents. But the things they are getting are very complicated, and we need a very well-skilled agents to provide this solution. So what I'm saying is that like it will have a huge impact on agents' work. It can empower and make it more efficient, but we need to remember that the things which, like if you're using a chatbot and you're already automating your customer service, which is great because at the end of the day, your agents are only focusing on complicated cases, which probably by AI won't be able to solve because they need to call your third-party provider to solve this issue and all of this stuff. And from technology point of view, we need to understand that we're definitely in the moment of a huge technology upgrade in customer service. What we have right now available and what this company has created and what everyone is leveraging from is like that the change, there will be the change. The adoption of the chat and chatbot will increase. People will start using this, and thanks to this automation and this capabilities, you'll be able to offer instant solution to your customer, which will, of course, increase your customer satisfaction score. It will increase your conversion and so on. And I would like say that like anyone who's not investing in the AI now will fall behind the others, definitely. But we also need to remember that we also need to be critical. We need to check if these tools are doing a great job for us. We need to check if the quality is okay. You cannot just take ChatGPT and put it on your website because it will be the worst experience you can have to your customers. And this is why we need to make sure that we should rely on the fact that everyone is crazy about this and we're in front of like huge technology change, but we also need to select the right vendors which have an experience in your sector, in your vertical, and they provide you the AI which was trained on the enormous data set, enormous example from your specific branch, from your specific sector.
Yeah. So let's pause there and do a quick summary and dig into some of this because we have some questions on some stuff that you touched on there. So I think for leaders in customer service or anyone who's thinking about the customer experience, I think the three things you hit on is chat adoption and just the consumer is we're clearly moving in that direction where people are demanding that experience. So if you're not providing that, you're missing out on a huge part of your customers' expectations. So being prepared for that shift in customer behavior, the agent empowerment, and just the role of the customer service agent in general, and moving it away from the work that we see AI and chatbots being able to do and really focusing it more on the complicated work, the revenue driving stuff. That is another shift that leaders should really be thinking about. And then, the technology upgrade. How are you actually leveraging this technology in your tech stack in a way that makes sense? And I think here specifically, and what you talked about, but it's finding the right partner, it's finding the right technology, and it's, the difficulty QAing it. So one of the questions is, can ChatGPT-3, can this type of technology is actually, this question from the audience, is it possible to learn personas and have a brand voice? And once it does, are you actually able to alter it or retrain this technology? What's the flexibility there and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, Yes, I mean, the way we can do this, we can definitely, it's really hard to say like if ChatGPT 3 you can train it because they are going to open it and like there is no still yet like any kind of results like if someone was able to achieve. But definitely what you can do is like you can train this with your historical chats, with your historical, uh, let's say transcripts, and it will be able to understand like how you are building these sentences, like what kind of sentiment do you have, like how you're talking with the customers. So technically, yes, it's possible. The right question is like asked to us like how much it will cost, how much effort you need to invest, and like how hard it will be to maintain it. Because what I'm saying is like building large language models cost thousands of dollars. There is a process called fine tuning, so you can like make it more adjusted to your specific use case. Technically, it is possible, but like I think that we need to wait a couple of more months or quarters to see what will be the results. If we're thinking about Zawi approach, yes, like we can offer it to our customers because you're able to use generative AI to pre-generate the content and you can make it sound more in your brand language. And it's also very important, like if we're thinking about this, is that at the end of the day, you need to choose if you want to be in the situation when you fully trust generative AI and it just generates this answer. What I'm saying, you can ask a question to this ChatGPT-3, any kind of generative AI large language model, the same question, and you can get a response written in the different ways. So the biggest challenge with this technology is you completely don't control what's the output. And one day it can be nice, and second day something can break down. We don't know, and it will start answering using some kind of sarcastic or sarcasm, which is not good. So what we do encourage our customers is to make sure that the automation can understand the questions with the highest quality and accuracy score, but the final responses, the final answers should be reviewed by them. And what you can do, you can leverage this generative AI to generate you different responses, but we encourage you to do the double check and finally sign off what you would like a bot to say.
Yeah, and so that was actually it was kind of like a two-part follow. You started talking about the limitations around control, and we have a question around, is there any way to actually verify that the answers that AI is giving are correct? And so I'm curious, like, is there a verification process, or is it just you have to decide what you're comfortable with? You have to have a QA process. And then just generically, what are some of the other limitations of ChatGPT in its current iteration and its use cases for customer service?
Yeah, so where we are thinking about this, like how we can use it, like when we're talking with Chat GPT, you're asking the questions, you're getting an answer which is generated by this model. So as I said, like we don't know what it will be. And it's okay because we're people who are using this and we don't have any expectations. But if there is a customer on your website or a user on your website, they have expectations and they really want to get an instant answer, but the high quality one. So you cannot control it. Like you won't be able to see exactly what's happening. If a vendor who is you're using will do the update and something will change and the model will learn in a different way, you can end up in the situation that this generative AI responds in a different way. So what I'm saying is like the suggestion is to use generative AI large language models to support you, to let it generate you the way how it say, but not automatically answer. Let's control it. And the QA process at the end of the day will be just that you need to verify how does it sound and say, okay, this is the way I'm okay with sending this response. The same for the agents. We can use generative AI to prepare the response, but we should expect from the agents to do the double check, do the proofreading of this and send this message. So we can cut a lot of time and decrease the cost. But at the end of the day, we should have a control over it because it's the most important, because it will impact our NPS, CSAT, and other metrics.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And, I think something to just reiterate on too, because we do have another question. It's like, I think you were very clear, like the question people do ask, like, do we think we will always need agents in customer service? And I think very clearly the opinion is yes, customer service agents will always be necessary. Do you see this taking, and you said phone is still the most common, do you see that shift happen? Like, do you see this replacing a lot of the phone support channel though, and shifting how people are getting their support is the question.
I mean, looking for like getting the instant, like if you're starting using the chatbot on your website and you will see this technology running, you can ask the questions and get immediate support without any second waiting in the queue. It's awesome. What we know that in the past, people had this kind of bad experience with chatbots. With Zao, we're already doing a really great experience with chatbots. And what I'm saying is that Brad, ChatGPT, and any others on the market, thanks to the fact that they are the part of your daily basis workaround, you will be able to test it and you will see that this chatbot can really work. So when people will come to your website next time and they will see the chatbot, they will give it a try. And if you have a chatbot on your website or you want to invest into this, you make sure that you have a great one. You don't want to have like a bad chatbot, bad experience, but you need to make sure that you're using a provider who's built it on large language models and has some kind of pre-trained, has the knowledge in your vertical, and so on. And like this is like the most important thing, that the adoption will increase, but we also make sure that we don't abandon the customer experience. If we reduce the phone calls, my bet is yes, but I think that the claim is it depends on us how we'll implement this technology. So it's so important that you will go in the way that you will have someone who knows how to do it, that you rely on the right partner how to do it, and that you will make sure that you will test it by yourself, that you'll be happy with the experience. Chat adoption will increase, but you need to provide a great experience on your customers, because then we'll come back to the situation where 2, 3, 4 years ago when everyone said that chatbots doesn't work. Now they can work, and they can work much, much better than any kind of technology we've seen so far.
And one question we just got in, this very, very tactical. Does this technology in customer service, do you see this as like a 24/7 offering? Is because, I think for a lot of companies, it's struggled to offer this kind of service outside of working hours when you can't route something to an agent.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Like large language models power chatbots like Zawi and the others. This is exactly the technology which works 24/7. So we've seen our customers that they cut on the morning backlog and they can get their agents focused on other more complicated cases. Like numbers are speaking for themselves. Like we've seen that the average automation is possible like to 70-80%. So if we'll be able to work together when 70-80% of questions are automated and only 20% of them is getting to your agents, the time you save, you can reinvest in many, many different areas in many, many different ways. For example, by cutting on the resolution time of complicated cases, or for example, by getting your agents be more engaged and helping customers placing in orders to increase lifetime value, average order value, and so on. So multiple ways how you can do this, and leveraging the 24-hour automation available on your website will help you to make your team much more efficient. And the fact that people will start using chatbots will make it even more the adoption will increase, and we will see also the decrease on the other channels.
Amazing. Yeah. And so we've already run over as we anticipated we might. So one last question. I think just bringing it all together, I think Maciek, maybe if you just bring, a couple of key points that you think people should take away from today.
Yeah. So the chat interfaces and a chatbot automation, will become and is becoming a common way for communication. No one will be scared, I think, anymore to chat with a chatbot. And we are the owners, the decision makers, need to make sure that you have the right technology which supports this experience for your customers. The way we're looking and looking for and searching for the information and expectations, how quick we will get the answer, is changing from me going through Google and reading the articles and finding the right one to getting the instant solution. So we need to really focus on being able to provide our customers an instant solution for their issue, not asking them to search FAQs or waiting 24 hours to get my email response. It won't work in the future. We need to make sure that we can provide this right now. And if you don't apply AI in your customer service today, it's a very, very, very high risk that you'll quickly fall behind. And now the technology allows you to do it in a very, very good way to succeed and to offer a really great experience. So it's super important that you will think about it, and you will see not only a great experience for your customers, higher conversion rates and so on, but also the cut on the time and effort your team to need to spend to serve your customers. So everyone is happy at the end of the day. And yeah, at the end of the day, the more you automate, the more time you save, and the role of the customer service is gonna change. Yeah. We'll be looking for the agents who has higher expertise in your product, in your brand, and whenever someone has a quick question, they will get an answer for an automation. But whenever they would really talk with an expert, they really want to have this expert there. And I see the role of a customer service agent to become an expert in the field, a person who can talk, who can understand your needs, and really, really provide you the right solution.
Yeah, I think, and again, to summarize, I think you nailed a lot of the key points there. Is that ChatGPT 3, I think it's almost more so a driver of user behavior than a fix for customer service in its current state. But AI and that technology behind ChatGPT, when applied correctly, is super, super powerful. And I think anyone in customer service, customer experience needs to have a grasp on this and a strategy to leverage this technology at different places in their care. And it's certainly not a replacement for customer service agents. If anything, it's just going to change the role that customer service agents are currently playing. And I think it's a super exciting shift for the space and how people think about customer service, and really exciting for to be playing a role in it. And with that said, I think we can wrap here. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions. So if you have any more, please reach out. Like I said, please reach out to myself or Maciek on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to answer them. And then with that, we will give it a wrap. So thank you everyone for joining us. Maciek, it was great talking with you, and we'll wrap there. Take care, everybody.
Chris, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.